Once upon a time, an old man claimed he saved George. Oh, if that old guy really had those skills, I'd like to ask if he could save me. He said if he died, I saved him. George just thought being alive beats being dead, especially right now. When George was little, he tried to save his brother but caught a heavy cold. The director said, death. I say that's nothing. His biggest wish was to hit the jackpot $1 million. Oh, and throw in a hot dog. Sweet Mary always whispered in his deaf ear at the pharmacy, George, I love you to the moon and back. But the pharmacy boss was raging behind them, tension in the air. The boss gave George a slap, shouting, What have you done this time? George hurried to explain the pill was for the boss' son, narrowly avoiding a disaster. Stop telling my story. I haven't decided whether to throw a fit. George thought, I can't tell others how painful this is, it's a secret. George inadvertently saved 2 families, and Mary couldn't help but swoon. He still dreamed of getting rich, having sweet nothings with hot dogs. His dad wanted him to take over the family business, but all he wanted was dreams and freedom. At the graduation party, George met Mary, and the chemistry was explosive. They gazed into each other's eyes, as if time froze in the moment. Mary's admirer hatched a mischievous plan to get back at George. The pool switch was turned on quietly. Let's see the dramatic splash and their astonished expressions. But they didn't care. Music played and the party was on fire. On the way home, George made a bold move, tossing a stone and making a wish. Mary's wish was shrouded in deep mystery, leaving everyone curious about what it truly was. George was dying to know what Mary wished for, but she just smiled and kept mum. Just as George was about to make a move, disaster struck out of the blue. His father passed away abruptly, leaving George reeling from the shock. Even Google failed to teach him how to tackle this difficult situation. Porter arrived to ridicule George's father, with his words brimming over with sarcasm. With immense courage, George resolutely tore off Porter's mask, only to discover with astonishment that the true ugliness concealed beneath it was his own. As time passed, George's adventure was knocking at the door. The board brought good news, business continues, and George is the one to take the reins. Faced with the mess, George had to grit his teeth, bear it through to the end, and never back down. He gifted his savings to fund his brother's college education, anticipating the opportunity to pass the baton in the near future. The financial crisis struck the town, leaving George's stress levels absolutely through the roof. The dynamics between George and Mary began to become increasingly complex and elusive. Memories of the old days surfaced again as they reconnected in the hospital. The subtly tense atmosphere gradually permeated, making their hearts unable to help but quicken their pace. This is truly a once-in-a-lifetime, absolutely immiscible chance. Rain poured on the wedding day, but George and Mary were laughing like it was spring. George whipped out his savings of $2,000 for a luxurious honeymoon, but what happened next was unexpected. The bank was packed, and the financial crisis was here and no one could escape. Everyone rushed to cash out shares, but George desperately tried to convince them not to cater to Porter. There's only our company in this town, or we'll be facing the music. Rational individuals are well aware of this fact. However, when confronted with an actual financial crisis, it is easy to talk the talk, but far more difficult to walk the walk. How much can I help you? Hey, I need $2,000. Everyone just wanted the living expenses, but only $2 was left for the honeymoon. Following Mary's lead, George arrived at the old house where he once wished. An old friend welcomed him in, and Mary's smile seemed to melt everything away. The walls were adorned with travel posters, and fragrant roast chicken wafted from the fireplace pure warmth. George's honeymoon journey actually commenced in such an unanticipated manner. Welcome to the chapter of his brand new life. That dilapidated old house transformed into the wedding home. Everything began to gradually warm up and come to life. Facing classmates who achieved financial freedom, George could only silently endure. Life was like a marathon. George kept building, but he noticed that Porter was getting more and more anxious. Hey, George, you're too talented to be stuck in this town.